In this 5 minutes of focus, we're going to talk about the unreplaceable resource, time. But is it really unreplaceable? Since the dawn of time, we've invented countless ways to measure it. We can be very precise or we could be approximate. We become bored when we have too much of it and fearful or anxious when we don't have enough. We get caught in this endless cycle and it impacts our life in profound ways. The story I'm about to share will help you end the cycle of anxiety, fear, and boredom and unlock a better relationship with time. During those seemingly endless days of summer of my youth, I would complain to my mom that I was bored, and she would tell me that boredom is a personal problem. I never really knew what she meant. I didn't think she understood. My failure in realizing just how wise she was kept me trapped in the cycle of time, really until recently when I learned the truth about time. I was attending a CEO conference a few years back. I was in a breakout group with about 10 company founders and CEOs, many of which were complaining about being overscheduled and not having enough time. At that moment, one of them spoke up and declared that the rest were full of After the initial defensive reactions and confusion, they let him speak. His lesson was powerful and simple. He said, "You are all founders, leaders of your firms. All of your firms are successful, and yet you have fallen victim to time." He emphasized the word victim to emphasize his point. You're at the top of your firm. How you spend your time is your choice, and yet you treat it like an obligation. If you realize and make better choices, you will have more time than you need. This CEO had just enlightened them on a simple and powerful concept. In his book, The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks illustrates this time problem in a very similar way. It was this book that changed my thinking about time and gave life to the words my mom passed along some 50 years ago. The basic premise of the book is to help us understand that we have choices. Choices that can propel us forward, hold us back, or sabotage us altogether. Our relationship with time is one of these choices. There are two types of time. The most common form of time we relate to is Newtonian time. It's fixed, it's clock time. 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. Well, you get the idea. The problem is we live in Newtonian time all the time, and therein lies the trap. When I coach executives, one place we go for answers is their calendar. And what do you think I learn when we look at their calendar? We learn that they are ruled by time. The calendar owns them, not the other way around. The insight there is that often they're largely driven by ego. For example, they fail to delegate. Failing to delegate is usually an ego problem, or it's a problem of weak and bad hiring. They've not developed their executives, or they've hired the wrong executives, so there's no one to delegate to. All of which comes right back to ego. Gay Hendricks explains it this way. At the heart of the Newtonian time crunch is a dualistic split. We are deluded into thinking that time is out there, an actual physical entity that could put pressure on us in here, in other words, in ourselves. Anxiety, fear, and boredom. Sometimes I wonder if going to hell is simply having too much time and not being self-aware enough to know about it. So what's the alternative? There's a far more powerful form of time. Hendricks describes this as Einstein time, and it was summed up by a quote from John Lennon. Time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. This is the essence of Einstein time, choice. Once we realize that we make our own time through choice, we are no longer trapped by the finite essence of Newtonian time. We are the producers of our time because we make choices about how we spend it. Hendricks would say, when we switch to Einstein time, we take charge of the amount of time that we have. We realize that we're where time comes from. We embrace this liberating insight. Since I'm the producer of time, I can make as much time as I need. And that's the big idea. Simple, but not easy. Since now we have to make choices about how and where we spend our time. Do we spend it in Newtonian time, Einstein time, or somewhere in between? This requires us to reduce our ego and increase our trust on those that we count on. But that's for another vlog. If you've enjoyed us, come check us out. Join our distribution list. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your time.